Hi everyone! I have grown and tasted hundreds of tomato varieties. Many of them are really delicious and different in their own way, so sometimes it starts to seem like nothing can surprise you anymore. But then you find one in particular that you fall in love with. First of all, of course, for its taste. And today I want to tell you about my top 5 tomato varieties that I think are the most delicious in my collection. Have a seat, we are getting started. Number 5. For several years now, one of my favorites in the world of tomatoes is a variety from the Czech Republic called Spencer. It's an heirloom for which I hunted for seeds for quite a long time, and, as it turned out, not in vain. I consider it an example of a classic cocktail tomato. Already in the very first cluster, I counted 15 cocktail-sized tomatoes at once. The plants are not just tall, they are very tall, and by mid-August crossed the mark of 8 feet 2 inches or 2.5 meters and did not intend to stop. And it was growing in 3 stems, but despite the high growth, the leaves are quite compact and do not take up much space. And they are also a beautiful dark green color. The trusses set fruit without skipping, even in the heat, which is more typical of hybrids. But Spencer is an open pollinated variety, so you can save seeds from it. Each year it has to be grown practically lying down on supports, as the height of the greenhouse is simply not enough. Tomatoes are dense, round-shaped, bright red, absolutely 100% resistant to cracking. After ripening, it can stay on the vines for a long time, so they can be harvested in whole bunches. Spencer perfectly grows both in the greenhouse and outside, very resistant to tomato diseases. Even a strong hail could not affect those plants that were grown outside in any serious way. I have been growing this variety for 3 years in a row, and each following season, adapting to my conditions, it gives me more and more crops. The tomatoes weighed about 1.5 ounces or 40 grams, so they are still slightly larger than the cherry fruit. The flesh is smooth, bright red, and the tomatoes themselves are almost perfect red balls. The taste is complex, tart sweet, inherent in the best varieties of cherry tomatoes. They have thick walls and store well. My record remains of the fruit that I picked while still green in November, and it ripened in my kitchen in March. I like to eat them whole or cut them in half and add them to a salad. All of these undeniable benefits make Spencer one of my favorite tomato varieties in general. That's why I grow it every year without a doubt, and so it fully deserves 5th place on this list. Number 4. The real discovery of the season for me was a cherry tomato called Candy Sweet Icicle, a variety from Brad Gates already familiar to many tomato lovers. As far as I know, as a result of mutation, there are now 2 versions of this variety, one of them yellow-pink and mostly sweet. Well, I got the second, dark red with green stripes and more bright acidity in flavor. Plants are not too tall, mostly up to 5 feet 3 inches or 1.6 meters, so it's better to grow them in 3 or 4 stems. The tomatoes are beautiful, elongated in shape with a sharp tip. The leaves point downward, which is more typical of heart-shaped varieties. I find Candy Sweet Icicle to be one of the most beautiful cherry tomatoes, and I have enjoyed watching it grow throughout the season. The average weight of the tomatoes was just under 1 ounce, or 23 to 26 grams, which is exactly the size of cherry tomatoes. As for the taste, as I mentioned previously, it's one of the most vibrant and memorable. An explosion of tomato flavor. The sweetness and incredibly bright acidity is exactly what I look for in tomatoes. A flavor that is unlikely to leave anyone indifferent. And this is in spite of the fact that they begin to ripen among the earliest, so there is no doubt that I will continue to grow Candy Sweet Icicle. It tastes so good. Number 3. In fact, I could have given this variety either second or first place, because it definitely deserves it with its flavor. Still, this is my subjective rating, so let's pretend it's my bronze medalist. Xanadu Green Goddess is a variety that appeared in 2014 in the garden of Trisha Rose Amelia as a result of an accidental cross-pollination of a surprise tomato and an identified variety with anthocyanin. And now we have the opportunity to fully enjoy this wonder of nature. The plants are very tall, reaching the mark of 8 feet 2 inches or 2.5 meters by mid-August. The tomatoes are not too large, but still much larger than I had the year before. Green in color, with shades of yellow and anthocyanin. The more sunlight that hits the fruit, the more anthocyanin will be on them. The variety would easily make a decoration for any garden. The tomatoes weighed about 3 ounces or 82 to 90 grams, which may not be much, but I'm willing to forgive that, at least for their taste. Xanadu Green Goddess is goddessly sweet. The flavor is exotic and very pleasant. I think those who grew this variety will agree with me. The possible disadvantages are not the highest yield and the relative proneness to cracking due to overwatering, but all this pales in comparison with the rich flavor that you get in return. That's why Xanadu Green Goddess deserves top marks. Number 2. And it's taken by a variety originally from Europe, more accurately from the city of Ozarów in Poland, and therefore is called Zloty Ozarowski, another absolute favorite in my collection. Powerful plant with a sturdy stem reaching a height of 7 feet or 1.7 meters, very resistant to disease. The tomatoes are rounded, yellow in color, and at full ripeness become bright orange. And this is another variety that has proven its high qualities in both greenhouse and outside growing. This is also the reason why Zloty Ozarowski settled in my garden forever. The variety is very popular in Poland, but for some unknown reason is not yet widely known outside of it, which I consider a clear injustice. The tomatoes weighed about 3 ounces or 84 to 89 grams, and their size suits me just fine. And if we talk about the taste, it's certainly bright and remarkable, sweet with a noticeable acidity. When I talk about acidity, I certainly do not mean the acidity that is present, for example, in lemons, namely the unique and pleasant tomato acidity, which would not be confused with anything else. And in the case of Zloty Ozarowski, it's almost a benchmark. In Polish sources, this variety is described as tomatoes with the flavor of the sun. Well, I've never tasted sun, but I'm willing to agree with that statement, if only because there really is something sunny about the taste of Zloty Ozarowski. Something that makes me feel as happy as when I see the sun after the rain. I have been growing these tomatoes for 3 years now, and every year their flavor never fails to delight me. They are consistently very good. In addition, they store very well, and that is a definite plus. Despite the fact that I grow these tomatoes for making canned whole peeled tomatoes, not one of them has ever made it to a can, but were eaten raw instead. And that's why I think Zloty Ozarowski deserves the silver medal. Now let's move on to number 1. And I give it, without a second thought, to the Queen Aliquippa, bred by Good Mind Seeds out of Pennsylvania. Plants with a potato leaf and thin stem are tall, easily surpassing the 6 feet 7 inches or 2 meter mark. In its first season, Queen Aliquippa did not show a high yield, but perhaps it will show better results in the future now from my own seeds. Tomatoes are beautiful, pear-shaped, green in color, with dark green streaks at the stalk. Despite this, the ripeness is not difficult to determine. The color becomes slightly yellowish, which means the tomatoes can be harvested. The fruit weighed almost 3 ounces or 74 to 83 grams, and I proceeded to the long-awaited tasting. The flesh is marmalade, green in color, and the taste blew me away. Just like it blew everyone else away to whom I gave it to taste. The flavor is very, very bright. The tomatoes are as sweet as candy, with a noticeable and pleasant acidity. The only rival of sweetness could be Xanadu green goddess. It feels like the bees at night, sneaking inside the tomatoes and filling them with nectar. As for size, remember, Thumbelina was also small, yet everyone wanted to marry her. The same goes for the Queen Aliquippa tomato. I could probably eat these tomatoes indefinitely. Its unforgettable flavor just leaves me no choice but to give it first place in my list of the most delicious tomatoes. This was my top 5 most delicious tomatoes in my collection. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe, share in the comments the names of tomatoes that you think are the most tasty. I wish you a good tomato season and, of course, love tomatoes. Grow tomatoes. This is the Lucky Garden channel, and see you soon.